What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit podcast. I got a mustache today, especially for this man right here.
Let's go.
I got a guest on the show today that I've known for most of my life, actually. I met Jamal Kent when I was 13, walking on my first day of high school. First day of high school, walking west on 66th Street, going to LaGuardia High School for the first time, and I met Jamal, and we had beef.
Instantaneously.
We had beef for a few years, but it's so interesting how the world makes things happen and change, and it's, you know, Jamal, he started talking about food in a really interesting way when we became friendly in high school, probably my junior year, his senior year. And he was talking about molecular gastronomy and doing all sorts of weird shit with food way before anybody was doing that in a commercial setting. I had been working in restaurants all through high school, and Jamal was starting his career. He is now he just got 2 Michelin stars. He is the executive chef and owner of Saga Restaurants, Saga Restaurant, Crown Shy, and Overstory. Unbelievable, ranging from fine dining establishment, one of the finest restaurants in the country, potentially the world.
Let's go.
You know, and anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying that I'm here with an old friend who's absolutely killing it in the game, who has stuck to his plan of success in the world of restaurants and chefdom for 30 years or so. Welcome to the show, dude.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate it, dude. Hey, and like all my best friends started with beef. It's crazy. Every friend I have, we're terrible people. Like, Tommy, Chad, Jack, like all my brothers and best friends, people I've known my whole life, I fought fair ones with. It's just, boys are fucking stupid.
Yo, man, I got to tell this story before we dive deep into it. So I remember this like it was yesterday. It was Halloween, my freshman year of high school. This dude was just up my ass. I was like this little kid, 13, 14 years old, and he was a tough guy. Bigger than me, tough guy. Older brother. Was one of the toughest kids in New York City.
See, it's this vicious cycle. Like, and I'm like, I've seen it now, and I'm a mature man, and I have kids, and kids are fucking assholes. And it's this vicious cycle. Like, my brother tortured me my whole life, and then, like, who do I find to torture this vicious, terrible cycle? And
I was a torture victim of Jamal for a little bit, and it actually, I will say this though, what was awesome about it was that it gave me this sense of confidence because I never backed down to you.
Yeah, it was all, come on, like, hey, like, you don't realize the moments in your life, how they affect you later on. And, the things that we did as kids, good, bad, ugly, terrible, like all the fucking hard work and all the ways we hurt ourselves, like, those things make us who we are at this moment. And dude, like, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have these lows and the places that help build character to show that you're like, I like made it through this and I changed my life and now I'm doing this amazing thing, man. I'm proud of you. Obviously, like we've seen each other grow over the years from like young idiot kids to like older idiot kids,
I mean, I still feel like we're kids, which is the strange thing. Like when I see you and I heard your voice in the hallway, I'm like,
same, of course.
It's really interesting. And I think there's something also special and unique about growing up in New York City, right? You grow up in New York City from the age of 12 less, you're out, you're exposed. And it's not like being out in the country where I live now. I mean, I'm like a true like in the woods country dude. Which is interesting.
But you got
and
saunas
also,
and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I got
life.
everything.
What you got going
it's
on.
a good life. I'm not gonna front. It's a good life. But like when you're outside there, you're alone.
Yeah.
When you're outside in New York City at 8 years old, and you're taking the bus to school in the morning, like you're surrounded by people, right? So there's just tons of exposure. There's tons of influence, and I honestly could say that I wouldn't trade it for anything. I do believe that it made us who we are.
Yeah,
like
100%.
2 kids coming from Manhattan who've like truly out of nothing been able to put some numbers on the board.
Yeah.
And you, my friend, like it's so easy for me to sit here and talk to you because I've known you for so long, but like you are going to be, and you are going to be like the chef that people talk about forever.
I love it. I'm knocking on some wood for that.
But that's the truth, dude. There's Daniel Boulud, Jacques Pepin, you know what I mean? Like there's these chefs that like, as you know, in culinary school, these are the ones that are referred to as like the masters, and you're there.
You know, it's really crazy. So we had a really great year, good, kind of couple of, years rolling past the pandemic, and these awards are amazing. And we got 2 stars at Saga and a Michelin star at Crown Shy. And my partner is like, yo, who else has these accolades in New York? I'm like, oh shit, Daniel Boulud. Like me and Daniel Boulud are the only 2 chefs that like have these restaurants. And Danielle texted me. He's like, oh shit. He's like, yo, you and I. He was like, congratulations. He's a mentor and brother
I can't
and
even
friend.
believe that.
And he was like, yo, you have the same rating as I do. You're amazing. Congratulations. And I like pinched myself because I trailed at Danielle's restaurant when I was 18 or 19. I ate there when I was a kid with my grandma, and he's one of these guys that we all look up to. And then I find myself having dinner in his parents' home in Lyon, which is one of the most epic meals I've ever had in my life. And I'm pinching myself because, like there are a lot of people that worked hard, and there's peers of mine that I was in the trenches with. And for some reason, I made really good decisions and backed it up with a lot of hard work. And it's a little bit of luck. We talked about it last time we talked. It's like 5% luck, 95% hard work. And that little bit of luck got me in the rooms with these interesting people, and then I could back it up because I'm just a psychopath and worked hard. And really, like, I think the torture that I received as throughout my life prepared me to really thrive in these restaurants that are historically hostile work environments, super hard work. You know the deal. It's just like super difficult. And I was in there. I'm like, wow, this is where I feel the best.
You also worked. I mean, you chose a very unique path in the world of specifically fine dining, right? Typically, somebody goes into a fine dining restaurant and they work there for 2 years, and then they dip to another fine dining restaurant and they learn from another chef for a couple of years, and then it starts to like, those 2-year stints start to get shorter and shorter, right? And then they leave fine dining because getting to sous is an absolute commitment, right? Mm-hmm. You did 10 years at Jean-Georges.
At EMP.
How long were you at Jean-Georges?
2 years.
Okay.
So I did 2 with Mario, 2 with JG, and then 11 Madison is where I was with Daniel for 10.
And then you spent 10 years at 11 Madison Park, and you were the chef de cuisine when that restaurant won World's Best Restaurant.
I wasn't. I was the chef de cuisine when we got 3 stars, when we got to 4, and then I went to Nomad. So I like handed it off to my guy, Chris Flint. I was like, yo, Chris, I got the ball rolling for you, bro. And then went to Nomad and helped kind of expand that. But like that time,
I just want to, because look, we're the Creatures That Have a Podcast, right? Like this podcast is really built around the idea that our habits define our destiny, good and bad, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm in the position I am today because my habits almost killed me, and you watched that period of time in my life. Not many people have, or that I'm still connected to, saw that period of my life, and so my habits almost killed me. I was able to switch flip the switch and live this different life where habits now make me who I am. Mm-hmm. The habits that you must have committed to be where you're at, I'm sure they're very different now than they were then, but like, can you just walk us through kind of what a morning routine looks like for you now?
Well, I think for me, kind of going back to the habits, and I say this all the time, habits are hard to break. Good habits, bad habits, both. So as a young cook or a young professional, you need to work with people that teach you good habits. Nothing else matters. You can go work at like a shitty restaurant, a good restaurant, the food, Chinese, Asian, Japanese, Italian, doesn't matter. The skills you need first are those good habits. Because my first restaurant, bad habits, we were like, I would wipe my hands on myself, I would drop food on the floor, we'd like cool beets under the oven, like these ridiculous things that after going to throughout my life and seeing these great restaurants, like I would never do that now. And
I just want to make a mention. I feel like you just said something so fucking powerful that I have never actually really thought of, is that habits are hard to break, good and bad.
Yeah.
And when I think about like I would be so uncomfortable, and I am when I like for the short spurts of time that I'm pulled out of my routine. Mm-hmm. It's so uncomfortable for me to not do the habits mm-hmm. that so many people struggle to get to, right? Like with fitness and nutrition mm-hmm. and all that shit. But when I'm like forced to not do them, it's like painful. Mm-hmm. As bad as it is to try to break a bad habit. Mm-hmm. I just want to make a mention. I think that was fucking monumental, because just know that like when you're living that life of like negative habits and bad habits and yeah. just taking all the wrong turns, once you transition into the life of good habit, the hard part is not sustaining them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think and a habit becomes part of your life, and this is your life. Your life, back in the day, the habit was part of your life. You worked in restaurants, you would late night, we did this and drank and did all these things, and that was just like life. That was your life. Now the habits are your life. You wake up at 5, see you at 5 in the morning, fucking running around, lifting shit, drinking good, eating, like that's your life now. And you've like spent the last 10 years or whatever, like acute time of building these habits, like 20 years, like you've been working on your sobriety for a long time. And to be honest, man, I'm proud of you being such a young age. And we thought we were old then, but you were like in your 20s. That's like huge, because people struggle along. It takes a while to figure out like.
Well, we lost a lot of friends, right?
Yeah, scary shit. But I was proud of you. I was like, because you were a kid, you were young, and you like went to culinary school. Like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cook. I'm like, and restaurants, give you structure. And like we had no structure. And I say in school, I missed every day of school. I cut school, I smoked weed, I fought people, I did graffiti, I was the knucklehead. But work was something that translated to me having money in my pocket, like mm-hmm. this tangible transaction, where school, it's a longer transaction. It's like the 10-year transaction that you don't really see. Like 10 years from now, this school and learning is going to get me there. Mm. But we're kids, we don't fucking understand that shit. And the habit, go back to my morning habit, but this is the reason why I'm successful, is because I worked through high school and I worked every Sunday for 7 years and never missed a day at work, because A, it was like a family business and I would get back to my family, and my uncle was the muscle and he would give me grief. And B, I got $100. That $100 got me comic books when I was 12, and then bought me weed in 40s and bought, Big League Chew when I was 16, whatever, like all the bullshit. And the reason why I'm successful is because I didn't miss a day at work until I was like 32 or 3. And I missed the day at work because I went to the hospital and got an IV. And I went back to work the next day. I was like, I need to live another two weeks, and then I can like fall apart. And I'm not saying that that's how people should do it, and I'm teaching my team to not do it that way. And wellness and mental health and giving back and taking care of self are things that I preach to our team. And I give people, I put my money where my mouth is. We have 10 extra days for sick days, because I'm like, take care of yourself. We have a run club that we pay a coach that comes and runs with us. Maturity comes just over time. And I couldn't be the person I am now 10 years ago, because I just didn't have the wisdom. And I think showing that you are just human and you make mistakes and you're imperfect is important. And I tell my team, I'm like, I had a panic attack. I thought I was dying. And because of that, I ran 5,000 miles since then, because I was like, I'm gonna fucking die. And I got these little kids, and I have this career, and I have a wife, and I have a family, and I want to live this life. Life is good,
there's something about you that's really different, because at the caliber and level of chef you are at this stage in your career, and have been for the last 15 years, there's all these horror stories, right? Mm-hmm. Of like chefs that are just brutal and like fling things across, and that they're real too, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah,
it's not like I say horror stories. Horror stories tend to be, false. Like this is real stuff, right? I mean, And there's something about you, though. My cousin worked for you.
Oh yeah, Eric.
And my cousin is he's not young anymore, but he's a chef. He owns his little spot now on Center Street for a while. And he worked for you for, I don't know, what, 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And he would say, I would say, I was like, how's it working for Jamal? And he was like, there's something really unique about him. Like, no shame on Chris, but like he was like, Chris is really tough to work for. And he was like, Jamal is like this stoic dude that doesn't show his anger or emotion in a way that you would imagine somebody leading that kind of kitchen would be. And when he said that to me, I was like, that's so, it's just like, it must feel good to be able to demand that kind of respect that you need from a team of people that are working like precision surgeons. I mean, there's more people. I remember in 11 Madison Park when you took me through the kitchen there, and I ate there a bunch. But I just remember seeing like more people in the kitchen than there were in the dining room, and it was just like and it was like a machine, and you were in charge of that. And you were young, dude. You were like 35 or 36.
30, earlier, younger.
And so like, what is the mindset of leading that kind of team in such a high stress environment where you're keeping your cool and your calm?
I wasn't always like that, and it took me learning and being the asshole sous chef. And I'm like, I'm the sous chef at E&P. Cook the fucking food. And this guy, Carl Alexander, who's a friend of mine, he actually sent me an email last night. He's coming to the restaurant, and he's from Trinidad, and he's this like cocky little kid. And I was like, send the fucking food up. And he was like, don't fucking talk to me like that. Or didn't he curse? He's like, don't talk. I'm like, yo, I'm the sous chef. I fucking tell you what to do. And it's the first time I learned. I'm like, hey, like, and he talked to me at that night. He's like, I'm here. I believe in you. I believe in the restaurant. And all you need to do is say, send me the food, and I'll do it, and I promise. And so it's just like making these mistakes and learning on how to like deal with people. And I don't know how or why I'm good at it, but it has to do with some of my insecurities as a kid and wanting to be liked, or what these weird things that I like. I want people to like me, everyone. And even if, like, I want the youngest cook to be like, yo, he's a badass dude. And it definitely goes back to some weird childhood thing of like not feeling like of or part of, that now I'm like, it's one of these reasons that I like bring people into my life. But I'm like, hey, I want to respect people. I want people to respect me. And I've been in kitchens where it's fucking a shit show and disrespect and embarrassment and stuff like that. And I just like, don't do it that way. And this is things that I'm kind of wrestling with now. Can we be one of the best restaurants in the world and not have this type of kind of culture, where it's aggressive and, and
I just need to stop you because you are one of the best restaurants in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like, I mean, but you are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just facts, right? Like you make it there.
Yeah.
I mean, how many restaurants are in the world? Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands.
And there's like 100 2-stars,
right. Yeah.
But these are things, because I'm growing personally, we're growing as a company, restaurants are snowballing is not the right thing because it's like snowball normally is like bad. Like it's this amazing snowball where it's this like the inertia.
Snowball into a snowman.
This, and so how do we keep the things that made us really special, and I don't want to change. And trust me, over the past year, like I've had some challenging kind of moments with my business and with partners, and I'm doing things differently now. And I'm like, do I need to be more cutthroat? And there was a moment where I was like, people aren't holding their weight. I'm like, I got to fire this guy, fire that guy, pull the weed. And I'm like, I've never done that. I give opportunities. And it's been a strength and a weakness because I'll like give a lot of opportunities and maybe they make it and maybe they take advantage of me, But I think for the most part, the ones that make it really make it. And 10 years later, they're like badass chefs or they're with me 10 years later. And for me, I need to be I'm in a different role in my life, you know, and I need to understand that and be aware of that, and I need to evolve. And I'm working with like a business coach and someone to help me work on culture. And, you know, Will Gadara is going to come in and do like strategic planning with our team to talk about enlightened hospitality and unreasonable hospitality and just setting up culture and put language to what's important to us, you know, try to like, you know, help us build. Because, the restaurant industry, you know, you've opened fucking how many restaurants? Like, there's a lot of touch and feel, and it's a lot of like kind of grassroots thing. And how do you put structure into a business?
You know, it's really interesting, right? So I've had a lot of time to think about the restaurant industry now that I've been sort of out of it for the last few years, and you and I share a lot in common in regards to this idea that, like, the truth is, I'd much rather be kind to you and have you like me than be a dick to you, because I understand what it feels like to be treated like a dick. And so when because I was a technician, similar to you, I was an employee, hourly or whatever, for years. When I was treated poorly, I wasn't like, hell yeah, I'm trying to crush for this person. I was like, I'm out for myself.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah,
fuck them.
You know, and so, and, you know, and look, you know, Daniel knows, my partner at Meatball Shop. I mean, he and I, we battled because I wasn't having that old school fine dining sort of like get out of my way culture. No one likes to be moved out of someone's way. It's that energy, that aggression, that get out of my way, move. Yeah. Like, no one wants to be talked to like that. I don't care. There's a few rare breeds that thrive in an environment like that. But the truth of the matter is, if you know I'm in charge and I'm nice to you, you are ultimately going to feel good about your job. There's about 25%, and this is what I've sort of worked it out to in my head because we used to battle about this. 25% of the people out of the 100% are going to absolutely try to steamroll and take advantage of that kindness, right? But I'm okay with 75%. 75% is a majority, right?
Yo, if you batted 300, you're in the Hall of Fame.
That's what I'm saying. So like, I kind of look at it and I say, and it's so interesting that Daniel called me up out of the blue like 3 weeks ago. And he opened up this dope pizzeria, New York style pizzeria in California. And he said, he called me up out of the blue, which is rare, you know, but he was like, I just want to let you know something. He's like, all those years that I fought with you about being lax and being nice and not having like everything systematized. He's like, you're right. He's like, I have a team of people that have been working for me for the last 15 months straight. I treat them with kindness. I don't go off on them, and they love me. And a few of them have stolen from me, but that's cool. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yo, man, I honestly believe that that's it is like, it is it. I want to hear about your morning routine.
You know, it ebbs and flows. And I've been adding to my life. And it's something I learned. I had a health coach when I was like really trying to lose weight. She's like, don't take away add. And, you know, so we would take probiotics and vitamins and athletic greens and green tea and meditation and lavender pillows over my eyes, and, you know, like, and I'm reading a lot of managerial business professional books. There was this kind of thought process of like conscious leaderships and unconscious leadership. And there's like, you know, kind of anecdotes of successful person, wakes up at 6, goes to the gym for 30 minutes, kisses his wife, goes to work, on the train, trading, working on deals, getting to work, works the hardest, leaves at 7 o'clock, drinks a beer drinks with the team till 9:30, goes home, goes to sleep, wakes up and does it again. Successful. You know, like, makes money, successful. And then a CEO that wakes up at 6, meditates for 30 minutes, turns her phone off for an hour, is intentional and present with her family for an hour, goes to work, doesn't have a meeting till 12 o'clock. And I'm like, wow, that's like interesting ways to do it. And the rat race, because I was in the rat race, E&P, I was like the first guy, like this, like bang, bang, you know, Today Show in the morning, run to work, yell at the cook, work on food, you know, go out and drink and smoke cigarettes and then come back the next day. And now I'm like, yo, I don't have meetings before 12 o'clock. I'm like, yo, maybe 11:30. I'm like, yo, you can't schedule anything before 11:30, 12 o'clock. like non-negotiable. And I work late. It's not like I work 9 to 5. So I'm like, that's my personal time. And that means if I wake up at 7:30, 8:30, I have a good couple hours to even just lay around and fucking relax. Just to sit on my terrace and like take some deep breaths. I'm growing weed on the terrace. I go and tend to my weed plants. But, I've been working out a lot, so we'll go for runs, we'll go to the gym, and that's my personal time. And Kelly and I, my wife, that that's our time. And beyond that structure, things kind of change, like our diet and what we eat for breakfast and what we do, but I've been drinking green tea a lot. There's this Genmai matcha tea that I've made with Kettle, which is a really great tea company here in New York, like all Japanese stuff. Like
they make it for the restaurant.
They made it like for me. It was like a James Ken Crown Shy thing, and it was really just the green tea.
Guy's got his own fucking tea.
I got my own Genmai matcha, but so during COVID, I took like all that we had and I drank it every day during COVID, and it was the reason why I like didn't get sick. I was healthy. I like that first 2 months of COVID, I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't, I like took care of myself because mentally I needed to, and God forbid I got sick. I want to be as healthy as I can. And that tea was mentally like something that was really important to me. And so I drink that every morning.
Now, still?
Now, yeah. And Kelly has some weird shit. She puts moss in it and some other weird stuff and some actogen mushroom stuff. She's digging deep.
I want to say, so 2 things, right, about what you said. And I think you've said some really amazing things. This idea of adding, not subtracting.
Yeah.
Like when we think of trying to live this sort of like healthy life, everybody's like, oh man, I gotta stop doing this. I gotta walk the steps. I'm not taking the escalator. And the truth of the matter is, when you think about it, is like adding to your life. It's just it paints just a different picture.
It just sounds positive. I was lucky that we had this like wellness coach at the Nomad, that she was a server, and she's like, hey, I want to help you, because she saw I was like, kind of putting a lot of work. I was in this like austerity mode, which I told you, and our pastry chef is incredible. And he would put croissants on my desk just to fuck with me. Amazing, matcha filled and chocolate dipped in stuff. It was, like one of the best pastry chefs I've ever worked with. Mark Welker, is a badass. And he would torture me, and he would just put it, and I would never eat it. Not one taste. I weighed like 255 pounds. I was the heaviest I'd ever been. I felt like I couldn't tie my shoes. I was like out of breath to tie my shoes. I passed out. I like had this panic attack, and I'm like, I need to like really invest in myself. And then I met this wellness coach, and she was like, have a fucking cookie. Have one cookie. Don't have 20 cookies. Have a cookie. I'm like, and I was at the point, I was far enough along that like emotionally and mentally, I could have that. But before I was like austerity, I was like, I need to like drastic change. I can't, and it took me a year, and I lost 50 pounds in a year, which is strong. And now I've been hovering, over the past 7-8 years, like running. I saw you run the marathon. I was like, supporting you from the side. I've run marathons, races, trying to add yoga to my life.
It's pretty amazing to be in an industry where it essentially portrays the ideal vision of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? Like the restaurant industry in New York City, right? Like there's, when you're living in the night, right, where the most successful part of your day is between 7:30 and 11 p.m., right? Like that's like whereas most people have already eaten dinner.
Yeah.
That's when your day really, without those hours being incredibly successful, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the difference between the world of restaurant and civilian life, right? And so to be able to figure out a way to live this wellness life that you and Kelly live. I mean, I've watched you guys every day on social. You post more about your wife and your family and your running and your fitness stuff than you do about your restaurants, And I think what that says to me, and why I was so excited to be able to get you on this podcast today, was that like you've chosen to put yourself as the priority, and it's such a great example in such a massive way for someone who has chosen to place their health and their self, obviously had to go through shit just like me, right? Went through hell, come to this place where you're like, wait a second. I know what I want, but my thought process of what I think it takes to get there is off. Mm-hmm. I need to flip it. I need to be the priority, because I know I have the ambition to get there. But if I place myself as this priority and my health and my fucking relationships, the chances of me getting there are just far greater.
And this is funny, when Randy Garudi took Shake Shack public, Randy was on this health kick, like, he knew was a Soul Cycle every day and eating well, because he's like, I'm like, this is such an important moment for the thousands of people that are involved, for him personally, and I've like thought about that throughout points of my life. When we opened Crown Shy, we did friends and family for like 40 days straight, crazy, whatever it was, 40 days of work, from like, let's go to opening the restaurant. And we had one Sunday off, the Sunday off before we opened to the public. And it was the New York City Half Marathon. And I had a bib, and I fucking ran it. I did 40 days straight, maybe some runs after work, like ill prepared. And one of my sous chefs did it too, and he's like, you gotta run it. We gotta fucking run it, And Kelly and Sabrina, a good friend of ours, we ran it, and I was like a zombie. I literally like was sleeping while I was running. It was one of these like, I was out of body experiences. It was pretty epic. You need to have these personal and professional goals. And my boy Gavin Kaysen, when I was doing the Boku store, he was like, I learned that from him. He's like, personal goals, professional goals. They have to be on even footed, And Danny says this too. Danny Meyer was like, it's a 7-day week. You work 5 days, you're 2 days to yourself. You need to work harder on those 2 days to like give back to yourself. Because it's an uneven amount of time. If I'm not growing personally, how am I going to grow professionally? I could have 20 restaurants, but if I'm miserable at home, I go home to like a studio with no one I love, and I'm just counting money and just like this miserable fucking person. And for me, it's like the personal side of it has always been really important. And it's funny, I was like thinking about this. My childhood was tough. There was alcoholism in my family and challenges that like, and no one ever really knows it. Like the asshole kid that came to LaGuardia, like no one knew that like, I had Fizz fucking torturing me, and like my mom was struggling. It's like, and that's the sad thing. You don't realize the challenges that everyone has. And oftentimes that kind of translates of why people act out and why people are a certain way. But we're kids, you don't realize.
Yeah, of course.
The life that I had as a kid was always really shaky, and I always wanted that like, structured life. 2 kids, a dog, 2.5 kids, like, a mortgage, a fucking, a sedan, just have some type of like structure in my life that felt normal, and I think that's why it's so important to now, like focus on that normal side of the life. Although I chose this like career that's the most manic and psycho and like challenging.
I identify so much with that, and I think now I live 2 hours north of New York City.
We're trying to come up. We're like looking at by even though mortgage rates are fucking crazy.
I'm here to tell you from a true diehard Manhattan, not just New York City kid. Manhattan, New York City kid, which is a different breed.
It's a different breed.
I never thought that I would be cool. I never thought that I would be content. I always, like when we went up there in the beginning of the pandemic, there was this like, God, I hope she doesn't want to stay there feeling. You know what I'm saying? And then we kind of settled in there, and what you just said, because of how crazy my home situation was like, I have that. I have a wife and 2 kids and a dog and I got the fence, I got the garage, I got the pickup truck,
a little pond.
You know what I'm saying? I got a pond. Like I'm telling you that there's something like uniquely special about it that I did not think I would appreciate, because I was 14 restaurants in New York City
it's the
running
rat race.
around, just crazy. Yeah. And so I know that there's most likely there's a chance that I will end up back in some sort of a hospitality experience down the road. But dude, man, like I'm grateful that we're sitting here together.
Likewise, dude.
I'm like, you've been such an example for the whole entire industry. You really have, man.
I appreciate it, man. I know when I won the Bocuse d'Or competition, the U.S. competition, it was the same. I think there was like a little thing in the New York Times, like James Kent wins this thing, and it was the same like off the menu where it was like you and Daniel like had the hero shot with a photograph, like opening the meatball shop, and I was proud of you, man. I remember my first interview. I did some like little magazine like for a vendor, and they're like, "What's your favorite restaurant?" I was like, "The meatball shop." These guys are balling. I was hyped. I was like, I'm proud of the New Yorkers that we all know that have fucking figured it out. In a lot of different ways. And success means a lot of different things. Yeah. Like Mike Sace is like a running legend. He's like figured this amazing thing out, and now he's like inspiring people to be healthy. And he smokes trees while he's running, which is kind of crazy.
But he'll run 40, 50 miles.
Yeah. And there's people like that. I'm like, wow, there's fucking people that we grew up with. Sace's daughter went to Stanford, and she worked with me at the Nomad. I'm like, dude, you fucking are doing it. The people that we grew up with, that were knuckleheads, that were hustlers, that were, the people that we fucked around with, now are like, there's a handful, and sadly it's just a handful. It's more people that are kind of trying to figure it out. But there's those New Yorkers that like through the adversity and in spite of, are successful in where we are, it's amazing. Yeah. And I'm proud of you, dude. Just
I always finish the podcast with a final question, and I think it could, sometimes turn out to be the most valuable piece of the podcast, because I do think it's a tough question to answer. But I do believe that everybody has their own sort of idea of this. You've worked thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. You've got more accolades in the world of food, top 3% ever, right? Like the things that you've done. You've inspired people. You've helped people build careers and lives. And you're still an unbelievably dedicated, like loving husband and father. Why do you do it?
There's no turning back at this point, and my friend Kalkeen, he was like, yo, there's no back door. And I'm like, that's fucking interesting. I'm like, you're in a room, the only way out is this way, and that way is a whole gang of people, whatever the fuck it is,
One way out.
One way out. No back door. There's no way to like sneak out. It's like Dutch Cassidy and like Sundance and Dutch Cassidy, Sundance and Butch Cassidy. Like, yo, there's no way. Like, you can't go that way. And I think, and trust me, I'm lucky that I haven't really had to pivot. And at times I'm like, fuck, what else would I do? And I have skills. I could translate. I could like lead people and help in different respects. But this is like the place that I like feel the most comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time, but like, and I'm lucky, man. I like, you make a few good decisions, the moments in. My grandma just passed away, sadly, and she was 93. Sorry, and she lived a great life and inspired me and countless people, and like, there are points, every important moment of my life, I kind of, is a thread that goes back to her. But I would go to her with ideas, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. She's like, and give me the most amazing, mature, sound advice that it helped me pivot through some of these like landmines. And like stupid landmines, they're like, you're gonna be a sous chef and make 40 grand. I'm like, Grandma, I make 40 grand. She's like, yo, that's nothing. You're gonna go open a shitty restaurant. You're at this amazing place with people that are inspiring you. Like short-term wins, it's the tortoise and the hare. It's like the long-term play. What's the long play? And that's not how she worded it, but she was, that was the wisdom that I got from her. Grandma Sue crushed it.
Man, I've come a long way, my brother.
Yo, Mike, man, I love you, dude. I'm proud of you. Thank you for inviting me to chat, man.
Where can the listeners follow along?
You can holler at me, Chef James Kent. Instagram, we have Saga NYC, Overstory, Crown Shot NYC. come to the restaurants. We're in the financial district. Obviously, podcasts are worldwide.
Are you playing hip hop in Saga?
Yeah, strictly. So our restaurants are like unapologetically New York City restaurants. We have a picture of Biggie Smalls on the pass.
I can't wait. I have to go to Saga. It's ridiculous that I haven't been.
You got to come check us out.
I got to come and I'm gonna celebrate a holiday there with my wife's either birthday or anniversary.
Come check us, and it's great because we get complaints. They're like, they're playing hip hop in the restaurant,
and you're like,
but it's like that's the 1%, and then it's like the 99%. But like, yo, this is a vibe. This is our restaurant. This is for us. You know.
Yeah.
Where you can wear whatever you like. I wear Jordans every day and fun sneakers, so kids bring their heat. They come to the kitchen and be like, chef, I got my kicks today.
You're the man.
Thanks, Mikey. Appreciate
Jamal, thank you guys for tuning in. This was a good one. And until the next one,
it. Peace.
Peace.